It's been lovely just to build those ties and create friendships on here. And hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten, and this one we're doing a bit of a different video. We're doing a book tag video. This particular book tag was created by Jan. I will have her channel linked below, and this is the Jan-Uary book tag. It was really fun. I watched it the other day and had a lot of fun watching it, and then she was like, you should do it, and I was like, okay, I will. And so this is what that is. So there are 10 questions. Let's go through them. I think it's just going to be a nice one. It reflects on last year and also what your plans are for this year, which I just think is lovely. And I haven't really done a goals video either, so kind of works for all of this. Anyway, let's get straight into the first question. The first one is, what was your last and first book of 2022? Which, did I actually prep for this video and go and get the books? No, I didn't. So 2 seconds. Okay, so the last book of 2022 was The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonald. This was the last book I actually finished, and it was so much fun. It's absurd and ridiculous, and you've seen me talk about this book a lot. But this is The Stranger Times. Is a newspaper, and they are reporting the weird and wonderful news such as UFOs, ghost sightings and more. Except what happens when that weird news is actually the real news. It's so much fun. I loved it. It's hilarious. The jokes in this are honestly borderline where you're like, oh my god, that's so risky, but it's so funny. And I loved it. There are unusual characters, there's like werewolves and all sorts going on in this book, but it's so much fun. If you need a book that's going to make you laugh, this is my recommendation. It's great, and I don't see enough people talking about it, and I've said those words a lot lately because I haven't stopped talking about it lately. It's been so good. A perfect way to end the year. And then the book that I first read for 2022 also ended up being my favourite book of the year, and that's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. It's a huge tome, and it did take me a little bit to get through it, but it was the first book I started and it was so good. It's a historical fantasy book, and we're in the Napoleonic Wars in England, and we're following two different main perspectives. One is Mr. Norrell. He is a wizard. He does not want to share magic in this world. He's very reclusive. He's all about harbouring all that knowledge, not sharing it, very much a hermit-like character. However, Jonathan Strange comes along, and he's not been good at anything in his life until he realises, whoa, I could be a wizard or magician. I could do that. And it turns out he's actually rather good at it. Because of the two perspectives and these two very different people, the feel and tone to the chapters are so different. Mr. Norrell's chapters are slow and boring and plodding along, and then Jonathan Strange's chapters are fun, eccentric and a bit all over the place, and I think it worked because you really got to know our characters. Alongside this, you also have some chapters from The Raven King, and that ties in this folklore. It works so well. It was beautiful. You also have footnotes in this book, which can be anything from a little sentence to a whole different folklore story that's woven into this. I want to reread it. I want to annotate it. It's such a good book. I loved it. The second one is what was my first read of 2023, and I just finished a book actually, and that's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I read this as an ebook. I wasn't expecting to, but I actually enjoyed this book. It's a YA fantasy that's been pitched more as an enemies to lovers story, which is what you mainly see. That's what I always heard about this book. To be honest, I got to a point where I thought YA fantasy just wasn't for me. It was too tropey and I just wasn't that interested. I'm glad I picked it up. It was free on Kindle Unlimited, which is why I picked it up, and it was so much fun. The world was so well described and well built. We are in the land of fairy. We're following Jude, who is actually a human, and she's really struggling to fit into the land of fairy, but she also doesn't fit in the human world anymore. Seeing her try and get the power that she so desperately craves, and seeing how she does this, it is more about political maneuvering than an actual enemies to lovers story, although that is hinted at the end of the book, and I mean hinted at. So I think that's going to develop in the later books, but it was a really fun time. I actually really enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. Number 3. What are 3 reading goals for 2023? I didn't talk about any reading goals. I wasn't sure if I was going to set any, but I have decided on exactly 3, so it worked perfectly for this. The first one is to read more sci-fi. I tried reading a little bit of sci-fi in 2022. I only found 2 books I actually liked. I mean, to be fair, I think think I only read 3, so it's definitely a genre I want to read more of, and I have recently been buying a few of them, which I mentioned in a book haul. So I would like to actually find some sci-fi books that I like. I know I probably won't enjoy it quite as much as fantasy because I do prefer things set in a more historical setting than futuristic, but I'm willing to give it a try. The second one is to read more non-fiction. I read 2 non-fiction books in 2022. I would really like to read more. I'm not going to push myself to read every single month because that's just not who I am. But I would like to try and read 3 to 4 non-fiction books this year. A lot of the non-fiction books I read are about authors that I'm actually interested in. I'm saying that as if I read loads, but I'm not. That's the sort of non-fiction book I'm going to focus on, is authors that I am interested in. Third and final goal is to actually make progress on some of the series that I've started. I'm going to be doing all the series I'm in the middle of video. It's down to a vote at the minute whether you're wanting that in February or a bit later in the year, but I'm in the middle of so many and I really want to make progress on some of them. Some of them is fine because I'm waiting for the next book in a series, but I started so many last year and the year before that and have barely made progress, so it's time to change that. It's something that I really want to focus on this year. Number 4. 3 anticipated titles for 2023. This is really easy because I've just filmed my anticipated releases for March and April, and I did one for January and February. If you'd asked me this question last year, I wouldn't have had a clue because I wasn't keeping up to date with all the anticipated releases. But we have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I'm so excited for this book. I imagine it's going to be 5 stars. It's the second book in the Alex Stern series, which is Leigh Bardugo's first adult fantasy. I would say it's more horror fantasy. I loved Ninth House so much. It was such an amazing book. I loved it so much more than I thought I would. I had so many reservations going into it because I didn't like her YA stuff, and I really enjoyed this, so I cannot wait to continue. We're set at Yale University where Alex is part of this kind of secret underground part to the university where she has to oversee different groups within the university that are trying to use arcane abilities to get things like power and prestige and things like this, and she has to oversee it because she's able to see ghosts. There's a murder mystery element in it, there's a missing persons element in it, there is so much going on, and I really enjoyed it and I cannot wait for the second book. Then we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this one. I have such high hope. These are actually both out in January and I cannot wait to read it. This one is all about a main character who is the only professional, I think maybe not only, but she is the highest in her field of actually cataloguing things like fairies and stuff. But then a academic rival comes into the town and a lot of unusual stuff is going on. I'm just really intrigued by it. I have such high hopes and the cover is gorgeous, which is what first drew me in. And then the third book would be Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. It's a Greek myth retelling. I love my Greek myths. I think they're so good. And this one is exploring Atalanta, who actually in some tellings went along with Jason and the Argonauts along the quest to get the Golden Fleece. She's really overlooked a lot, and so Jennifer Saint is doing what she does best and giving women that have been overlooked a story, and I cannot wait. I actually met Jennifer Saint, which that's going into another question that's later on in this, so I'm going to wait for that, but really good. The next one is which goals did I reach / not reach in 2022? I actually didn't set any goals for 2022. I took all the pressure off because right at the beginning of the year I was changing jobs and the training was so intense. I actually took a little bit of a step back from YouTube as well. I just couldn't bring myself to give myself more pressure of goals as well. I did have some books that I wanted to read for the year though, so I guess I can do that. I did the 22 books I wanted to read in 2022. I've done the same for this year, 23 books I want to read. Out of those 22 books though, I did manage to read, I read 15 of them, which isn't bad. So I had Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, which I absolutely adored. It's more of like a humorous take on Gothic tales. Emma, also by Jane Austen, which is a hilarious book as well. Probably my favourite Jane Austen book, is just fun and light-hearted. Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which I really enjoyed more than I thought I was going to. That's by Thomas Hardy. D'Enfer, which I ended up unhauling. Blood Orange, Tokyo Ghoul. I'm not going to go through them all actually, but I read most of them and that's not bad actually. I'm quite impressed. And the ones that I left are ones a couple of them I am bringing over into next year. But that's it. I didn't actually set myself any proper goals. What's some new releases that I don't want to read in 2023? And this one's a bit harder because I only look at the releases that I'm interested in. Although I did recently watch Chris, I will have her channel linked below. She did a new releases for January video, and in there was a Cassandra Clare book. I would not read that. I don't really want to read Cassandra Clare at all. So her book, reading habits that I want to change, if any, in 2023. Honestly, I don't think I have any. Like, I've got better at DNFing books that I'm just not enjoying, although sometimes I think I've been a little bit harsh with them. But at the end of the day, if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to force myself to finish it. That's been the same. I don't feel bad about that. I think it's going to be like reading on a Kindle. I really want to get a Kindle, and I never used to read ebooks. I was very much like, I don't like them. At the end of 2022, I started reading more, and I would like to continue with that. But that's it, really. I think. Any adaptations I'm excited about? No, I don't really watch TV or films, so no. Favourite bookish memory of 2022? I have quite a few. So as I mentioned, I got to meet Jennifer Saint. She was doing a talk. I was able to go and get my book signed by her. It was a really interesting talk, and she was talking about Electra, and I loved that. I've also done some buddy reads this year. I got to make some really nice friends through this channel. So I've been buddy reading with Steph and Ellie. I will have both their channels linked below. I also did a buddy read with Christina, again linked below. It's been lovely just to build those ties and create friendships on here, discovering more and more other booktubers that I've been able to just generate those friendships with. It's been an amazing year, and I have loved it so much. Okay, and the very last question is any carryovers from last year, which I'm not actually in the middle of any. If I DNF a book, that's it, I've DNF'd. I don't tend to go back. But there are two books that I did want to read in 2022 that I never got round to, which are part of my 2023, the 23 books to read in 2023 video. And that is, you know what, let me go get them. Two classic books, actually. So we have The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter. I've just been wanting to try Angela Carter's writing, and this is the book I have. I don't know anything about it, but I have been saying I would read it. It's a short classic, so I don't know why I haven't got around to it, but I didn't. So I need to read it this year. And then the book that I'm actually so excited for, and I think I'm going to love, I have such high expectations. I think I'm going to read it in like October, November time, and that's going to be The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a book that if you like Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier or Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, then you will like The Woman in White, is what I've been told, and I love both of those books, so I need to give this one a try. It's meant to be a darker, spooky, gothic book. Sounds fantastic. I don't know why I put it off. I really need to read it. That's it. Those are the only two carryovers books that I want to read that I had meant to read last year and just didn't get to. And that's it for this video. Quite a nice, quick, short one. Honestly, most of my videos are so long, so this must be a nice little change for you. But yeah, this was great. As I said, do check Jan out. She's an amazing booktuber. I love her videos so much. It's been great finding her content. I will have her channel linked below, and if you want to take part in this, then do so. It was a lot of fun. I think Christina would be a fun one to tag in this, and obviously Ellie and Steph. So if you three are watching this video, or even Sylvie from TBR Diaries actually, but don't feel pressured to actually do this, because I know with tag videos, when you get tagged in them, you can sometimes feel the pressure to actually do it. I don't know, I guess I'm just saying if you want to do it, then do it, or if you just want to answer in the comments below, then do that. But don't forget to check out Jan's original video and her channel, because it's great. If you've made it this far, then as always, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. The emoji of the day will be a bat in honor of Jan. If you need to know more, then you should just check her channel out. But a bat for Jan. And thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment. Those three things really help this channel out. My social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next video.